What's up, guys? On this video of physical media everything, I am gonna go over more WWE wrestling related DVDs. I believe this is part 6 or part 7 of all the DVDs that I owe my entire collection when it comes to wrestling, WWF, WWE DVD sets. And I'm gonna start off with one of my favorite wrestlers and a great talker as well. His name is Chris Jericho, and this is Breaking the Code Behind the Walls of Jericho. This is a great 3-disc DVD set where they explained his entire career, whether it was in Germany, Canada, Mexico, Japan, United States. He's been wrestling all over the world. He is also considered the first ever undisputed WWE champion. This is the set, very, very nice set, very well put out. The 3 discs, which includes a bunch of matches with him and Shawn Michaels, Chris Jericho, and The Rock. It also shows his debut on Monday Night Raw when he started when he did cut his promo against The Rock. I think that was a pretty good big challenge for him coming into Monday Night Raw. From his position in WCW into going into Monday Night Raw and just cutting off The Rock and his promo and just interrupting him. That was an awesome moment. Not only does it have WWE matches, but it also has ECW matches against Cactus Jack, has WCW matches against Eddie Guerrero, Dean Malenko, and all the people that all the big time feuds that he had. Has 19 matches in total. It has his debut match against Lance Storm, which I thought that was pretty cool to see. And it has a bunch of extras and promos that Chris Jericho has done throughout the years. Very, very cool set if you guys are into Chris Jericho, Y2J. I know I sure am. I really like Chris Jericho. I thought he was a great wrestler and a great talker. He's still wrestling. He's currently the New Japan Intercontinental Champion. So that's pretty cool. Then another one here is focused on another WWE superstar, The Rock. This is basically the journey of Dwayne The Rock Johnson, the epic journey. And what this is, it only has 11 matches on 3 discs, but it's mostly talking about how he got into the business. How his dad wrestled, and then he would be backstage watching the matches. How he met Andre the Giant. And, coming from the University of Miami, being a football player, and then transitioning to wrestling, and then becoming an actor and all that stuff. Has a cool matches here against John Cena, CM Punk, Mr. McMahon, Triple H, Mick Foley. Really cool overall look on The Rock and how he became the WWE superstar that he became. It runs at 7.5 hours, and yeah, man, I got it for a very cheap price. And this is the first ever complete biography on the Great One. Yeah, man, pretty cool set here, and it talks a lot about his insights behind the scenes, how he got into the sport and all that stuff. So that's a really good set. Then I got here Heart of Gold, the Owen Hart story. This is a 3-disc DVD set, which I already showed here in part 5, I think, or one of the parts I did earlier. The Blu-ray edition. Well, this is the DVD edition now. The reason I got this, I wasn't double dipping or none of that stuff. It was just because these two came in a bundle like this, and I didn't have this one, so I had to buy this one. It came together, and I believe the price was like $5.99 for both. So hell yeah, I was gonna get it. So main reason why I got that one is because of this one, and this is Bret Hitman Hart, the Dungeon Collection, which includes a bunch of matches from his early career, like him against the Dynamite Kid from Stampede Wrestling in 1978. Look at that set right there. Look at when you open it. Really cool stuff here. The 3 discs. Really cool set here. It goes as early as his backyard, a lot of promise, energy, signs of respect, the right formula. Bret the Hitman Hart versus Mr. Perfect from 1989 at Maple Leaf Gardens. Has a Philly Spectrum, Hart Foundation versus the Islanders. Another match against Dynamite Kid in 1983. The Hitman Bret Hart versus Leo Burke at Stampede Wrestling. Has a bunch of cool matches. It has I think Bret Hart versus Diesel from '94. Bret versus Owen in a house show in 1995. So it has a lot of cool underground, different rare matches that you don't see all the time. So this is a really, really good set, and has a bunch of great classic matches. And if you're a Bret Hart fan, definitely get into this. This is a really, really good match. I really, really like this. It has his match against Stone Cold Steve Austin from South Africa, 1986. It runs at 7 hours, 3-disc set, all about Bret Hart. What I like about this DVD set is that it's not like the other ones. The formula WWE sets always run is that they do a whole entire documentary in the first disc. Mostly it's like a 90-minute documentary, and then they do disc 2 and 3 would be matches. Well, on this particular set, what they do is that they talk a little bit of a documentary, then they put like 2 or 3 matches, then more of a documentary, then another match, then more documentary, then another 2 or 3 matches. And I think that's an excellent formula. That way you don't get you know, sometimes it happens to me where I just want to watch a documentary and I forget about the matches. Well, this one is pretty good because it makes you kind of like watch the entire 3-disc set. So really interesting set. One of the best ones that WWE has ever put out. This is the Dungeon Collection set. It also talks a lot about his father and how he got into wrestling and stuff. Speaking of Bret Hart, this is another one. The WWE Greatest Rivalries, Shawn versus Bret. This is a 3-disc set. Yeah, they actually made a 3-disc set on this rivalry here. This feud was very, very intense. It wasn't only on TV, but it was also in real life as well. They really hated each other. They didn't get along, and it's a really cool set here. If you guys are interested, if you guys lived that era, 3-disc set, and yeah, a lot of cool matches here. Got a lot of cool stuff here. It has a lot of matches that I didn't even know that they fought together. Like, for example, the Intercontinental matchup in 1992 in Syracuse on a house show. Bret versus Shawn. Bret versus Shawn in 1992 in Portland. The Rockers versus the Hart Foundation at the Tokyo Dome in 1991. Bret versus Shawn in 1990 at the Wrestling Challenge. The Rockers versus the Hart Foundation at Madison Square Garden in 1989. A steel cage match in New York, December 1st, 1993 against Bret Hart, Shawn and Bret. It also includes the Hall of Fame induction ceremony for both wrestlers. And it also, what I like about the set, it also has the Monday Night Raw of January 4th, 2010, where Bret Hart returned to Monday Night Raw after, I don't know how many years of not being in Monday Night Raw. He returns to Monday Night Raw, and kind of like Shawn Michaels apologized for the Montreal screw job, and you know, they became buddies again, and the apology was accepted, and it was in the middle of the ring, and then they hugged it out, and it was pretty cool. But yeah, this is a great rivalry, so good, so intense that they had to make a 3-disc set on it. I highly recommend that if you guys are into Shawn Michaels or Bret Hart. Then I got here, well, let's talk about this one first. This is just a regular pay-per-view. This is in 2004's Monday Night Raw presents Vengeance, which had pretty cool match. It had the World Heavyweight Championship, Chris Benoit versus Triple H. Intercontinental matchup, Edge versus Randy Orton. Which I'm not a big fan of Randy Orton. I think he's like a very slow, very boring guy. And I wasn't a big fan of Edge either. Chris Jericho versus Batista. I didn't care about Batista. Matt Hardy versus Kane in a no DQ match. And then you got Larry Systems versus Eugene and Ric Flair. Jonathan Coachman and Garrison Cage versus Rhino and Tajiri. Victoria versus Molly Holly. God, this is an awful pay-per-view. Here you go. This is a bad pay-per-view. I think the only match I'll be interested in watching will probably be Chris Benoit versus Triple H. So that's Vengeance. This is Vengeance from 2003, so this is a year before. And here we got The Undertaker versus John Cena was on this one. Zach Gowen versus Mr. McMahon. The triple threat match for the WWE Championship. Big Show versus Kurt Angle versus Brock Lesnar. Billy Gunn versus Jamie Noble. The World's Greatest Tag Team versus Billy Kidman and Rey Mysterio. Chris Benoit versus Eddie Guerrero. Stephanie McMahon versus Sable. So this was a decent one. This is presented by SmackDown. So I guess they switched off in a year. Like Vengeance was Raw in 2004 and 2003 was SmackDown. Because this is the time where they had the brand split. And not a bad pay-per-view here. Vengeance 2003 on paper. Then I got here No Way Out. This is the one that Eddie Guerrero beats Brock Lesnar for the WWE Championship. Really, really good match. If you haven't seen that, I highly recommend that. It also has a triple threat #1 contender for the WWE Championship with his Kurt Angle versus John Cena versus Big Show. It has Hardcore Holly versus Rhino, APA versus the greatest tag team, the world's greatest tag team. It has a really cool match here. Chavo Guerrero versus Rey Mysterio for the Cruiserweight title. It has a 6-man tag match for Ultimo Dragon, Paul London, and Billy Kidman versus Tajiri, Akia, and Sokata. So yeah, it was a pretty good pay-per-view here. No Way Out. The ending was really good. I was really happy to see Eddie Guerrero win his WWE Championship. He really deserved it. He was a really, really great wrestler. Then I got here a Falls Count Anywhere. These are like, this is the collection of WWE's best street brawls and street fights and hardcore matches and stuff, which is a pretty cool set if you guys are into that stuff. To me, the ECW was the best making these matches, like street brawls and all that shit. But the WWF was good at times. Like, it has a match here from 1981 that I remember being very bloody, and it was an alley fight at Madison Square Garden between Sergeant Slaughter and Pat Patterson. That was a really good matchup. Then you got here a fully loaded strap match, The Rock versus Triple H. You got a street fight from 2002's Royal Rumble, Vince McMahon versus Ric Flair. Sting versus Cactus Jack at Beach Blast 92. The Chicago street fight that it was held in Uncensored in 1996 with the Road Warriors versus Booker T and Sting. Really cool set here if you guys are into the hardcore scene for wrestling. It does not have any ECW stuff. Well, yeah, actually it does. It says this 3-disc set is hosted by Mick Foley, which everybody knows him as the King of Hardcore. It expands over 30 years of bout from WWE, NWA, WCW, and ECW. Anything goes matches. So I highly recommend this if you guys like that brawl style, hardcore style of WWE. Then I got here the history of the WWE 50. This is the set that brings it's a huge history on the 50 years of the WWE or WWF. Runs on 3 discs with a bunch of storytelling stuff, a bunch of sit-down interviews, and a bunch of memorable matches, like The Rock versus Hulk Hogan from WrestleMania 18, Bruno Sammartino versus Billy Graham from 1977, Hulk Hogan versus Andre the Giant at WrestleMania 3. That match against Hulk Hogan versus Andre the Giant is a special one because it's unreleased. It's no commentary, has no commentary, and it's the arena camera version. So it's a different version of what everything has been seen. Has the very first episode of Monday Night Raw, Koko B. Ware versus Yokozuna, Raw, January 11th, 1993. That's a lot of cool stuff here, man. Here's all that stuff that they show. And yeah, it's a long history. You could also order the book, WWE 50. Definitely a very, very good set. I think 50 years is a very long time for a company to survive, and it's still ongoing strong. They recently signed a multi-billion-dollar contract with Fox to be on their TV programming. So the WWE Strong is gonna keep on going, and I don't see them closing anytime soon. They've had a great run, 50 plus years, because this came out a while back ago, and definitely worth watching. 50 years of wrestling, 50 years of WWE, very interesting. And my last one here on this video is called the Monday Night War Volume 1, Shots Fired. This is a really cool set. It explains basically what happened. It breaks it down into details in a 4-disc set here. It's a very long set, and it's broken down to like a bunch of episodes. And episode 1 is The War Begins, which explains how WCW started attacking WWF by going live on Monday nights in 1995. And then it also brings the rise of the NWO, how the NWO got so popular and everybody started liking them and they started winning the ratings. Then in this too, you got Embracing the Attitude, which is mostly talks about the Attitude Era, the McMahon-Austin feud, how sex was a big part of it. They would have all these girls like semi-naked and stuff. And then they had the D-Generation X, which basically talks about DX and how cool they were as well. Then on this 3 has Have a Nice Day, which basically talks about the Rock and Sock connection, Mr. Socko, Mankind winning the WWF Championship, the Faces of Foley, basically all of Mick Foley stuff. Then the Heart of War, which is basically the fallout between Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels, and Bret Hart being the WWE and leaving the WWE. Then this is Foundations of War, which is captivating the audience, changing the landscape, rising to the top, evolving, and leaders. So it basically talks about the insights of the shows. And then finally on this 4 has the Austin Era, which talks of course of Stone Cold Steve Austin. Then Who's Next, which talks about Bill Goldberg. And then Flight of the Cruiserweights, which is mostly talking about the smaller guys and how they did well. I mean, WCW was really good for cruiserweights, but WWF wasn't. So yeah, they talk about the light heavyweight championship. They talk about the cruiserweight, and they talk about how DX invaded WCW. They actually went to the arena, and then they wanted to declare war, but the arena was shut down or whatever. They didn't let them in. And then like a couple of weeks after, Eric Bischoff challenged Vince McMahon into a match, a karate match, because Bischoff knew karate and he wanted to beat up McMahon, and McMahon never showed up. It was just them going back at each other, and they hated each other, and it was a really good time to be a good wrestling fan. Switching the channels back and forth, that was very memorable. Contains a bunch of sit-down interviews from Eric Bischoff, The Rock, Hulk Hogan, Vince McMahon, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Triple H, Diamond Dallas Page, Goldberg, Sting, Ric Flair, everybody, even Ted Turner. They even got Ted Turner to sit down and talk about it. It was a really good 4 discs. Very entertaining. If you haven't seen it, I highly suggest you watch it. I don't know if it's on the WWE Network or not, but it's definitely worth the 7 hours that it runs. On that note, I am done for this video. I'll see you guys next time. I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll talk later. Bye-bye.